Hi everyone, my name is Eva Coles. I am a junior psychology student at the illustrious University of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, and this is my discussion board 3 post for this week's readings and videos. Okay, so starting off with question number 1, using Piaget's theory, explain how meaning is constructed during the different stages of development and what this means for student learning. Okay, so Piaget's theory is in a way, in my opinion, showing constructionalism. The ideas are building and growing upon each other, from object permanence to imagination to conservation and reversibility to abstract thinking and finally seeing multiple perspectives. These ideas, in a way, use the previous one to build and form into the next. This is important in student learning when it comes to creating a lesson plan, making sure that the lesson is within the parameters of their cognitive ability. You will have an easier time explaining why the Play-Doh amount example doesn't change to a 7 to 11-year-old rather than to a 3-year-old, simply because they are not developed enough to comprehend that concept. Another example that they used in one of the readings is saying, today I learned at the end of your lesson plan to my most significant learning in this class. That takes a concrete operational level of understanding. Moving on to the second question, using evidence from reading 2, describe a lesson that you have taught in the classroom and how you could alter it to align with the constructionalist way of teaching. So I am a psychology major, not an education major, although I love the education field. So I have never taught a lesson plan or had a classroom to teach a lesson plan. However, a lesson plan that I could teach in order to enhance the constructivist way of teaching is by making a lesson plan more hands-on and interactive, allowing the kids to work in small groups and have autonomy over what the outcome of their project looks like. So I do work at the YMCA in after school care, and I kind of follow this autonomy perspective here, where I do allow my kids to have a little bit of autonomy in the game that they play in the after school program. So I can see how like having autonomy, having responsibility kind of creates a positive character trait in the child, and then creates a safe and trusting environment relationship between the teacher or the counselor in my situation and the child, because I am allowing them to have more control. And then guiding the student through the project without putting restraints on their creativity. In this environment, we want to promote asking questions and discover solutions. Then afterwards, engaging in conversation that allows you to know that students understand the concept and can reflect on what they have accomplished. So this kind of goes back to the today I learned, or for older kids, my most significant learnings in this class. They just want to make sure that what you have taught is understood. And you can also see from this whether you need to redo the whole activity and try something new because they weren't grasping the concept as well as you wanted them to, or if they got it perfectly. And there's nothing like promoting questions. I feel like when students are asking questions, they understand the topic a little bit, or at least if they're asking the right questions, then it shows that they're at least on the right track to understanding the topic. All right. Question number 3 is, take a mental snapshot of your classroom practices. Does your classroom support constructivist teaching as outlined in reading number 3? Why or why not? Okay, so like I said before, I don't have a classroom. However, if I did, these are ways that I would set up my classroom environment in order to create an emotionally and psychologically safe environment that models constructivist teaching. I would begin by, of course, introducing and sharing things about myself. In this style of teaching, it's important that you assess the needs of each individual student so that you can cater your activities towards their interests. I would make sure to implement more hands-on projects that promote social interaction and provide breaks for social interaction. So in the readings, they really did stress these social interactions. They said that it was very important to have peer-to-peer bonding, and that formed a sort of classroom environment that positively benefited the child. They also emphasized no deconstructive criticism. They said that people who feel safe in a classroom tend to become more creative and express their viewpoints. When self-esteem needs are met, more productive classroom environment is produced. Okay, moving on to question number 4. This was my favorite question because it really did shock me. What does the podcast say about learning styles, and how does this problematize your thinking? Okay, so like I said, they shocked me with this one because growing up, I was never taught these types of learning styles, but it was always a question that was posed from teachers, maybe like on the first day, like get to know you day, like what is your learning style? And I've always considered myself to be a visual learner, so learning that might not be true was very interesting. I can see how this is problematic because it puts students into a box of limitations. If I think I'm a visual learner, which I do, now I have a fixed mindset that this is the only way that I can learn. And when I'm approached with a reading passage, for example, I may be discouraged to apply myself fully because I have already been put myself into this box. So that is the ending of my kind of review of the readings and the videos for this discussion post number 3.